As you may or may not know, the dating pool, the dating world has been getting increasingly more difficult as the years go on, and I don't personally really see a light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of people, but today I wanted to talk about specifically hopeless romantics, and I wanted to take a look at this video by Cole Hastings over here, a video for hopeless romantics. This guy makes incredible videos, and I cannot wait to hear what he has to say about just love in general, because while the dating world is very, very difficult to navigate nowadays, it is not nearly impossible. We're going to get into that in just a second. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Guys, let's watch this video together. I am very excited for this one. It's been my watch later, react soon for a long time.
I had an interesting thought the other day. Do you think our hunter-gatherer ancestors fell in love the way we do? While they were roaming around with the tribe, picking berries and shit, did they look into one of the tribe members' eyes and think to themselves, damn, I really love this person?
I mean, I don't believe that you just look at somebody and immediately fall in love, but I think the initial attraction's there. I think that we've been built the same way, and like, you know, there every once in a while you look at a girl and like, especially like in your single days, or for context, if you're new to this channel, I've been with the same girl since high school. I've been married and I've been in a relationship for just about a decade now. So there were points where you just like, you're at a party or something, you lock eyes with a girl and you just know the attraction's there. I believe that still happened to our ancestors, but I'm interested to see what Cole has to say.
There's no doubt in my mind that they were attracted to each other. I mean, they kind of had to be in order to consider reproducing with someone, but what exactly was love to them? Could they even conceptualize love before we gave it a name and attached?
I would imagine so. It's something you feel, man. It's something you feel. Like, you know, when you love somebody, it's a different level of like affection towards your family or your partner.
Certain attributes to it like we do today? Or did they just feel some good stuff happening in their body and not think too deeply about it?
I've never really agreed with the idea that love is just in the brain. I am a big believer in the soul. I believe love is like part of your free will, and love is something that it's unexplainable. That's what I believe.
I ask these questions because I think our idea of what love means has transformed so much over the recent years that it has become almost unrecognizable. And without knowing what love truly means, you're subject to a lifetime of potential misery.
That's very interesting, actually. I don't know where he's actually going to take this video. This is a video, like, again, like, Cole makes fantastic content, and I've been meaning to watch this video for a long time. I don't know where he's going to take this.
But first, let's establish what love isn't so you don't confuse yourself. Love is not a chasm you cross instantly. When I was young, I had a really bad habit of seeking a perfect partner through a set of ideals. In an ideal world, I'd be in a bookshop browsing through the nonfiction section, and I'd see this pretty girl pick out a self-help book and start reading the first few pages. I'd say to her, The Power of Now. Eckhart Tolle really changed my life.
So I'm guessing like he's thinking about like seeking the perfect partner instead of like finding someone you're compatible with. I'm not entirely sure, but that's a amazing foundation to build upon if you both like reading, especially like a self-improvement. Did he say self-help, self-improvement, self-development book? That's a fantastic point to start, especially if you have a girl picking up a book like that. Ooh, that's awesome.
Oh my gosh, really? She'd say back. My friends know how much I like this stuff, so they thought I should check it out. We'd look into each other's eyes for a few seconds, staring deep into each other's souls, and press our lips together before leaving the store holding hands.
Okay, hang on. I forgot that you were saying this is an imagination.
I fantasized about this type of love often. I'd catch glimpses of it when I walked by a woman who smelled nice, or when a woman gave me an extra bit of kindness, which many men mistake as her being attracted to them.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And how many, we've talked about this on the channel before, I can guarantee you, if you were a guy watching this video, you remember just about every single compliment a girl's ever given you in your entire life, unless you're like part of that like 0.1% of guys who like get the compliments every single time. Genuine compliments from a girl. I remember, and I don't remember a lot from when I was a kid, but I remember the first compliment I've ever received from a girl in school, man. I remember it to this day. And I'll just tell you what it is. A girl told me that my smile was really, really, really nice, and like you could just tell when somebody's being genuine, right? Like she said, an infectious smile, and then ever since then, I walked through my entire life like being content with my smile. You know, I've had other people tell me that, but it's incredible that I know for a lot of people, men are starved for attention, but it's incredible like the difference between men and women and how we actually end up like holding on to those compliments like to our core.
Then I'd start creating an entire romanticized scenario in which her and I spent the rest of our days together. Many young people get stuck in this cycle of limerence, which is a state of mind where you obsess and infatuate over a version of a person that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or they create that person. Like if it's a pretty girl that you walk by, to take the library, for example, if it's a pretty girl that you walk by and you see her picking up like the same kind of book as you end up using that face and building a character and a life with that person in your own head.
And then when you truly get to know them, you do either one of two things. You either blind yourself of their flaws, mistakes, or any other personality traits that don't fit the criteria of their ideal version in your head, keeping the dream alive as long as possible. Or when you see them for more of who they are, and those feelings of butterflies in your stomach fade, you move on to your next infatuation.
And I'm sorry, before we move on to that next part, like, I love the way these videos are presented, man. Like the text walking out the side, like, look at that again, man. I'm sorry to like put a pause on like what he was actually saying, but like the way the text is appearing, the scenery, it's really like making you feel. And my words are probably taking away from it, but
keeping the dream alive as
look at
long
this.
as possible. Or when you see
It's
them
such
for
a
more
nice
of who
touch,
they are, and those feelings
you know?
of butterflies in your stomach fade.
I love it. I absolutely love this guy's like this guy's production. I wholeheartedly suggest you guys go check this channel out.
You move on to your next infatuation, wondering if you'll ever find the one. In both cases, the reasoning behind your behavior is the same. You think love should feel like floating on a cloud, effortless, serene, soft, and void of blemishes.
Now, I know a lot of people do feel that way, but I personally never really looked at it that way. But then again, I've also had I've lucked out big time, man. Again, I've had my first girlfriend just work out, and we've been together for a decade since high school.
I used to think this way due to how the idea of love was taught to me in the movies and TV shows.
Yeah, like Hotel Transylvania, you zing, you know? And something like that does take place, but it's just like an initial attraction.
Go through some accident, guy and girl look at each other for a second before laughing and walking away, and as they walk their separate ways, they occasionally look back at each other as they smile.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever had that experience. I don't think I have, but how many times does that happen? And you can drag it into like any really scenario, because how many people have imagined like saving the day from like a school shooter or something, or like an attacker, and saving the girl and then she falls in love with you, or it's like you get the kiss at the end. I'm sure that we've all fantasized about saving the day like at points in our life over there of like, no matter where you're at, if you're at a mall, if somebody comes in with a knife, you're just like, you grab it from them, jab it right back in them, and then everybody praises you, get the girl at the end. Like, I know, and I don't want to hear it in the comments down below that you say otherwise, because I know if you are any sort of capable man, you have envisioned something along those lines, and the girl loves you because you've demonstrated that you're a capable man, and then you've become infinitely more attractive.
And the rest is history. This is where the idea of a love chasm comes in. There isn't a singular line which distinguishes between whether you love someone or not, and you certainly don't cross that chasm in the first day, weeks, or even months.
Yeah, and that's something that, like, one of the reasons why I believe that love is unexplainable. I think love is something like beyond us. You just know when you love somebody. It's like family. You love them. Like my daughter, as soon as she was here, I immediately loved her. There's no explaining that.
This idea of instantly crossing a chasm of love. Love is also not something you stumble upon. People love to use the phrase, you'll find your lover when you least expect it. Don't search for it, and it will come to you.
I actually agree with that, to be honest with you. I agree with that, but it's not because of like any universal thing. I don't know if he's going to get into that, but it's like, oh my God, it's just your lover's out there and then the stars are just going to align. You're going to meet her. No, I believe it's because that when you're actively searching for people, women can smell desperation on you and then they immediately become repulsed. I don't know how they have it, but it's a sixth sense they have. They just, guy's desperate. I'm out of here. I'm immediately unattracted to him because he can't get any other girls.
This must have been a phrase invented by really attractive people, and thanks to the halo effect, we just assumed that it must be true. Love also sounds so much sweeter and romantic that way too, doesn't it? I can just stop looking for love, and then by some divine stroke of luck, the woman of my dreams will approach me and will live happily ever after.
To be honest with you, I don't think it's meant to be taken that literally though. Like I think that we all know if you just spend your days like in your basement playing video games, obviously your love isn't going to fall in your lap, but it's more so just like stop looking so hard, stop using the dating apps, stop like going out with the intent of meeting somebody, just go out with your friends and then the right girl will happen to come across. You might build a connection with somebody. That's how I personally take it, and that's what I do believe in.
That sounds incredible. I understand stories like this probably exist, but how many of us are using this phrase as an excuse to not put in any effort for love? This is another huge problem I have with today's standards of love. If you are constantly seeing images of ideal love scenarios, happy couples that secretly have huge problems, or people who are much more attractive than the average person in real life,
if you're watching anything on social media, guys, if anybody's posting about their happy, amazing relationship, they're not happy. I am in a very, very secure relationship. I do not need to post about how happy I am in my relationship because I'm happy about my relationship. Think about it. If people are posting online bragging about their relationship, looking for attention, then they're not completely fulfilled in their relationship. So don't take any of that seriously and don't feel bad about yourself.
You start thinking to yourself, well, look at all these people. They found perfection in the form of a person.
No, and you know they're fighting behind closed doors, dude. You just absolutely know it.
That means I should wait for it to come to me, too. Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't have standards for yourself. I actually think it's quite useful to write down the things you're looking for in a partner so you don't end up in a relationship that reeks of incompatibility. And I'm also not saying you should settle for a meh relationship just so you don't have to be lonely anymore.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people end up settling to have kids, too. You start getting to like your later 20s, and a lot of women will do this too, believe me, because a lot of women want to settle down, a lot of women want to have kids, so you need to be very, very careful. If you're a guy watching this video and you were somewhere around my age, I just turned 27 years old, girls are going to be looking to have kids, and they might not necessarily be attracted to you. They want kids, and then they'll be the ones sneaking off. Excuse me, I paused the video.
What I am saying is that settling often isn't what you think it is. Making a real effort to put yourself out there and find love instead of letting it come to you is not settling. It's breaking through a fantasy and going after what you want. So many of you who watch me are into self-improvement. So many of you are working so hard to achieve results in the gym, in your finances, in your journals. But when it comes to love, you somehow think it should be different?
Well, I do believe that. Love isn't something that's explainable. I don't believe love is just like, oh, you see someone, you spend enough time with them, and these proper chemicals just fire off in your brain, and there you go. It just magically happens that you just love this person. I refuse to believe that. I'm sorry. And it's so different when it comes to like, if you were to explain like, okay, go into a gym, you go in there, you lift weights, you work out, there you go. You know, like that stuff could lead to a relationship as a byproduct, but it's different if you were to just go out and actively seek a relationship. It's so difficult nowadays. Times have changed. Again, women can smell desperation on a dude. Like, I don't believe, I'm a firm believer in just minding your own business, doing your own thing, be a little bit more social, whether that's like get involved with like a sports team or just go out with your friends. Something will come about eventually, as long as you're not like disgusting.
Like all things in life, you have to set the intention for love, make an active effort to find someone who you can build a life with, and be realistic about how flawed we humans really are. Though I must admit, I have found a love that I've created an infatuation around, and it's never let me down. It's video editing, and to enhance my video editing...
Oh, no, it's an ad, isn't it? Oh, this guy, that was a pretty good one. Let's continue on.
Will get you $50 off Motion Array. And that leads me to the last thing that love certainly is not. Love is not easy.
That is very true, too. A lot of people end up bailing on their relationships before they even have the chance to, like let it grow. And once you get out of the honeymoon phase, and once you actually start seeing the flaws of your partner, people are so willing to jump ship. But no, it's something it's something that you work out.
One of the hardest things to differentiate between when you're in a relationship is whether this mishap, mistake, or argument that caused conflict between you and your partner is worth solving or is an indicator that you two are not compatible for you.
But the problem with that is it depends on the specific scenario. I know a lot of people that break up over like meaningless things. Like if you're expecting too much from your partner, like you actually have to sit back and think like all of the things that would be specifically your most perfect partner in the entire world. It's probably unrealistic, right? Like we can all think about it. The most perfect, if we were to mold the absolute perfect girlfriend, we're going to be able to do that soon with AI, which is going to lead to insane, like, hi, Sunny baby. Hi, pretty girl. Sorry, I thought she was looking at me. She does that. Just moves spots. Laying down all of a sudden. Now I feel like laying over here now. You're a crazy dog, eh? She's tired. We just went for a run. But yeah, it's actually crazy that we're going to be able to do that soon with AI. I mean, like, it's going to lead to a whole brand new world of problems that, that it's going to destroy society forever. But at the same time, like, to get back to an honest conversation, think about the perfect girl that you could mold, or the perfect boy that you can mold, and how unrealistic it probably is. Like your deepest, darkest desires, everything that you want. So the person's going to probably fall short. The problem is, can you get past that? Or you should get past that, because these people are human beings, and I can guarantee you, you don't fit into the exact same mold that your partner has been looking for, right? It's just, you develop a connection, you develop a love, it grows stronger, and then that person eventually becomes the perfect person. But in saying that, there are absolutely things that you need to break up with for, and there's a lot of people can't just settle because they're not compatible with this, and they're like, let's say a conflict starts, you have to take it from like a case by case. And when it comes to something like this, I just see so many people bailing on relationships for no reason, but I see people settling in relationships and dealing with stuff that they also shouldn't deal with. So it's a really, really tough one there.
For each other. Well, let me tell you a little bit about my experience. In my 27 years on this earth, about 10 years of those have been spent in 3 serious relationships. And the first 2 of those ended in complete agony.
Now, again, for context of myself, I've been fortunate enough to never experience heartbreak or breakup. I've been with the same girl. I've had experiences with women before my girlfriend, but I've never actually dated or fallen for somebody before my girl.
I always have to laugh at how naive I was back then. In my first relationship during high school, I let so many things my girlfriend did slide just so I could say I had a girlfriend.
And a lot of people let it slide too, and it's only getting worse because so many men nowadays are addicted to lust. So many men can't even just like think about anything else besides getting in their woman's pants or a woman's pants, that they let anything slide, whether that's disrespect, whether that's letting them drain their wallet completely, no matter what it is. It's getting worse. You need to get a handle on that.
We'd argue about her going out or me going out, or how she didn't like my friends and thought they were degenerates, and we'd kind of make up without having actually learned anything in the process. That relationship was destined to fail. The second relationship, however, was better. I felt like I was really coming into my own during this time. It was college, and I had just started getting into spirituality, self-improvement, and starting this YouTube channel.
And yeah, shocker, as soon as you start taking care of yourself, everything starts working out a little bit more. But honestly, as much as I'm glad that I went through like a very, very easy relationship, like don't get me wrong, like we've had bumpy roads along the way with like fights and stuff like that. Like we've never had any like breakups or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, but there was a lot to learn. It was a little bit of a struggle for me to transition into adulthood with somebody that I essentially grew up with. I like the idea, which it sucks because it's been so nice for me. But at the same time, there are just points looking back where I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe it would have been nice if I actually had some prior experience in relationship to this. That was the only really bumpy road, but that's something good that happened, to be honest. Sorry if this is turning out to be a little bit of a useless point. Perhaps this is something that we could dive into one day, like the pros and cons of like growing up with a partner and getting into a relationship when you're young. My puppy's moving again. I can see her. Thanks, Sonny. That's really pleasant. Let's continue on with Cole's video.
In other words, I started to become capable of having mature conversations that led to the growth of both of us. But in the end, I got dumped again. It's very possible we could have made that work, but I think we were both kind of under the impression that it should have been easier than it was.
It's so difficult because it's not okay to say. Oftentimes, the other partner isn't necessarily grown up or capable of having mature conversations. I'm not pointing that towards any particular person. YouTube, I'm very, very grateful to be on this platform, and I would never suggest such a thing. Just a little bit odd.
That heartbreak during COVID was excruciatingly painful, filled with many days of depression and tears. But I was finally starting to understand all the things that love was not. And that was when I met her.
Aww.
We began thinking nothing of it. It had been 2 years since my last relationship ended, and the one thing I had been telling myself on first dates was to have no expectations.
That's a great way to go about things. But to an extent, like, don't disrespect me, don't look at your phone, like, things like that. There should be, like, rules on whether or not you take somebody seriously, but not any expectations on, like, hey, I don't know where this is going to go. Maybe it's somewhere good, maybe it's somewhere bad. Just don't fall head over heels and, like, ruin it for yourself.
Very different from those ideal, dreamlike expectations I had as a teenager. Like me, she had also just moved to Austin and didn't know what would come out of her dates. So we started speaking about our interests. She was a data scientist working remotely and escaped to Austin because her friend had told her to come here. Beautiful and intelligent. That was a plus. She noticed my berserk tattoo on my arm and asked me about it. Turns out she was into anime too, even though she gave no hint that was the case in her Hinge profile.
And again, like that's the type of things that just build. You have to let these things happen naturally. I'm such a firm believer in that. I am so against online dating, man. I'm so against it. You need to build that initial attraction in real life. I wholeheartedly believe in that. And yeah, online relationships work. And I think he just said, like, did he find her on Hinge? Or did he just bump into her? I don't know. Regardless, like, yeah, you can make it work from online dating, but I think it's so much more difficult.
The conversation felt effortless, and the date continued even after we finished eating because we both didn't want it to end. I knew I wanted to see her again, and so we saw each other again and again and again.
And again, you just let it flow. You just let it flow.
Several weeks went by, and it was starting to get serious. Things with her felt natural. It felt like she brought out the very best qualities within me, and I wanted to keep experiencing what life was like with her. So I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she said yes. But there was still so much that we didn't know about each other. She was born in a different country and came from a different culture. I'd often say things to her or do things that felt like nope.
It's so funny. It's so funny, like, going through life and like learning like other people like that. It was a big transition for my wife to come into my family because she grew up like, their family is like, don't get me wrong, their family's great, but they're like super, super huggy, lovey-dovey, like they're close, like they'll eat off each other's forks and all that. And like, I find that disgusting personally. Like, only my wife, only my kid can eat off my fork. But you know what I mean? Like, they are that close. That's what I was trying to say. And then she comes into the environment of my family and we're all insulting each other. My mom's saying, hey, what are you gaining so much weight for? I call her a cow too. Like, you know, like, it's so funny, like, having someone brand new come in your life, and then the accidental trigger things is so true, man. Like, it's funny how you have to adjust, and then you either move forward with it or you adapt, man. Like, you'd either choose to not move forward with that or you end up adapting.
No problem to me, but clearly annoyed or frustrated her, and she did the same to me. Luckily, by this point, we were two mature adults and we could communicate through the differences.
But that's lucky to find, though, man, because you're not going to find that all too often anymore. Like, there are not a lot of people who are like willing to actually sit down, have mature conversations, and actually like sit back and look at themselves.
The way in which we could communicate and resolve things was so much better than my previous two relationships. After each new difficult period we went through, my love for her started to grow more and more. But love is not easy.
And that's true, and I know he's gonna like dive into that specific topic now. I love this video because I love hearing stories of success within relationships, because so many people are like the men going their own way movement. A lot of people are just completely giving up. A lot of people are just diving into just hookup culture because they're not looking for anything serious. They don't want to get hurt again. As difficult as the dating market is right now, there are fantastic, fantastic women out there. They're just a little bit more difficult to find. And same for the men, man. There's a lot of men who are no longer capable anymore.
After my second girlfriend had broken up with me, and the feelings that I felt at that time, I thought that I would never consider marriage again. But I had grown a lot since then, and I was starting to change my mind. It was now about a year and a half into this new relationship, and we started asking the difficult questions. Do we want to marry each other? When would we like to get married? Do we share enough similar values in marriage to make this last a lifetime?
And I don't know what people wait so long to have that for. Like, I had this conversation with my wife, like when we met within the first couple weeks. Like, the hard thing for me was because it was, I don't know if it's been increasingly getting more popular, but I know a lot of girls at the time at our school were like, oh yeah, I'm hyphenating my last name. I'm like, I am going to break this off right now if you're not willing to take my last name. And there were things like that we got the conversation over with, like within 2 weeks of the relationship. She had deal breakers as well. And I think that's important to get out of the way, to be honest. I don't know why people wait on that.
I hadn't really considered these questions when we first started dating, and she hadn't either. And this was when the differences in how we conduct our lives really came to light. As we neared the 2-year mark and we kept having these conversations, fears were starting to creep up on me. There were some non-negotiables we had that were difficult to agree on. And could I really be the best husband I can possibly be at 27? A valid question, but when would I ever really feel ready? After more conversation,
my uncle is actually the one that really shed some light on that, because one of the issues I was having in my own relationship is I thought it was too early in my life to move out, and I thought it was too early in my life to get married. But we were having this conversation well before it actually ended up happening, and my uncle was the one that actually shed some light on that for me. Is men are usually not ready, and it's the woman that ends up pushing them into being ready. They are never ready. They never want to leave home. They oftentimes are comfortable with their mom and they're comfortable with their environment, and it's scary moving on, especially with all the horror stories. That no man is typically ever exactly ready or doesn't have the doubts in their mind, but it's the woman that actually kind of forces it, right? By like putting the pressure on, where it's like, if we're not moving forward, then like, what are we doing right now? That actually made me a lot more comfortable moving forward with it. And that's when I actually decided, okay, I think it's time to get engaged. I think it's time to move out, that type of stuff, because I sat down and was like, am I ever going to be ready? What am I waiting for? I have a good job. I'm saving up my money, and I'm very, very thankful to have my uncle for that, man.
Conversations and a few more disagreements, it was looking like this would be the end of the healthiest relationship I'd ever had. And so we decided it would be best to separate for a while. During this difficult time, for no reason at all, I stumbled upon the movie La La Land. And if you haven't seen it,
my wife loves that movie. I've never seen it before.
The ending can really stab a knife in your heart. The main message is that sometimes everything in a relationship feels perfect and you both love each other a lot. But if your goals in life are too different, then you have to split up in the end to...
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But I find it, I would find it difficult, but maybe it's because I've never been in this position. I would find it difficult falling for somebody that doesn't have like my same end goal. But maybe not everybody's like that. If you feel differently, shed some light in the comments. I'd appreciate it.
Reach your dreams. As it appeared we were about to leave our relationship on very cordial terms, just as it was in La La Land, I took this movie as a sign that my destiny with this woman would feature the same fate. But then I remembered what love isn't. I had found someone I had loved through the good days and the bad. Someone I could call my best friend, partner, and someone who had taught me so much about myself. And I didn't have to sacrifice any of my dreams for her. If anything, she only made actualizing those dreams more possible.
Now, I'm a little bit confused because, like, if you don't have the same ideals or the same dreams, how can you move forward? I don't know. Maybe he's going to get into it. I'm having a little bit of a tough time following this one so far.
She highlighted areas of myself I knew I wanted to work on, and although facing those areas was often uncomfortable, I needed to have those confrontations to become the most confident, secure man I could be. I needed them to be the best husband I could be with any woman, and how incredible would it be if that woman was her? So after some time apart, we met up again. We discussed issues that continued to bring themselves up and really made the commitment to work on them like we never had before.
And that's just what you need to do with somebody. But at the same time, like, the thing that I'm actually stuck on with this is if the end goal is not the same, then no matter what, you shouldn't be together. If it's little things, then like little things that can be solved, little things that can be fixed with a healthy conversation, then yes. But the problem again is, it's so difficult to find somebody nowadays that's willing to actually sit down and have a conversation like this. People like this exist, but they exist in very, very small numbers, man. And I will stand on that. I will absolutely stand on that. Think about most people that you see in your day-to-day life. How many of them do you think are ideal partners for you? None of them.
And I can confidently say months later that I'm the most secure I've ever been in a relationship and with myself, because we decided to show up for each other where we had never thought to show up before our relationship began.
I love that.
Our story is not the stuff of fairy tales. We met on a dating app. We first saw the world quite differently.
And it's none of it's ever a fairy tale, right? None of it ever really is. Like, I think that I got as close to a fairy tale as we could possibly get, and that's like just all of a sudden, like, my wife and I we're like part of the same friend group in high school. We were hanging out all the time, like just in like, we had a pretty big group of friends. We were always just doing stuff. We became friends, and then all of a sudden, like, locked eyes a little bit more, and then there you go. We ended up just actually falling for each other. I consider that like a nice little fairy tale, like the person's been there for a couple of years, but you never actually gave it a shot. I thought that was kind of cool, but fairy tales, in the way especially the movies present them, rarely exist, if ever.
She falls asleep at 9 p.m. when I try to show her a movie, and I get frustrated because the best part was about to come up. There are
But why would you get frustrated at that, man? Your girl's tired.
Plenty of moments in our relationship where I've wondered how we're gonna get through this, but for every one of those moments, there are 5 more moments where life feels like a fantasy, and I wonder how I got so lucky. I'm certain that there will continue to be difficult times in the future, but now I know that we can get through them. And that's what being in love is like.
Yeah, love is never perfect. Love is, I will say, rarely perfect. I consider myself to have a perfect relationship, but we still have things that we need to work out every once in a while. People still slip. People get angry, It's just part of life.
Love was not what I thought it was. It's something much better and more fulfilling. It requires dedication, development, growth, and at least a little bit of struggle. And that makes for the best fairy tale of them all.
I mean, I think it'd be nice. I get the point of the video, but I think it'd be nice to go through with no issues. Oh, that's so nice. Was this video for
I
her?
love you guys. Well, the idea of you guys platonically, of course. If you want to check out my free self-improvement.
That was a really, really good video, man. Like I said, I really, really enjoy Cole's videos, but I love hearing videos like this, and I love that videos like this get a lot of attention because while people are giving up on dating, more and more people after breakups or after getting no matches on dating apps, anything along those lines, more and more people are giving up on love. And something that I really, really do believe is that people are going to turn to AI and then they're going to be completely hopeless. So I think this is a huge problem in society today. So many people talk about giving up. You need to figure it out, man, because the girl's out there, and perhaps you need to take care of yourself a little bit more. Do that, the girl will come. Self-improve, and then the girls will end up falling on your lap. I promise you, as long as you are putting in that effort. Guys, let me know what you thought about everything down below. Check out this video on screen right now. I'd love to have you over there. YouTube thinks you like this video the best. Thank you very much for watching again, everybody. Take care.